these like fridge stickers that
Yeah.
my wife has a lot of those. There was one that really resonated well with me that says, "No more working to enhance my resume. From now on, I'm going to focus on the kick-ass obituary." Because for the longest time in your mid-years, right, you focus on your career, you build your family,
That's
your
right.
career, and do all those things, right? You're in that hamster wheel to build up your resume. And then it's this moment where you think about, like, have you done enough cool stuff in your life? Probably not. No one's going to talk about that extra overtime hour that they did in the office, right? Man, go out there and live a little.
Welcome to the One Gang Worldwide podcast, your ultimate ride into the world of motorcycles. Visit cyclesworldwide.com, where we offer a completely free marketplace for everything motorcycles. Join our One Gang community where you can connect, share info, and swap stories with riders from all over the world. Join for free at cyclesworldwide.com and be a part of the One Gang community right now.
What's going on, One Gang? Today's episode is about freedom, curiosity, and what happens when you stop waiting for the right time and just go ride. Oliver Schwabe left the traditional path and built a life around motorcycles, travel, and storytelling, riding over 200,000 kilometers across Europe and turning the passion into Moto Vibes travel, guided motorcycle tours through some of the most beautiful roads in the world. This isn't about dealerships or technology. It's about chasing a dream, taking risks, and helping others riders experience something unforgettable. Oliver, welcome to the show, brother. Welcome to the One Gang Worldwide podcast. We are so stoked to have you on and excited to hear your journey, man.
Thank you so much, guys. It's a pleasure to be here and talk to you guys for the next, I don't know how long we have. Excellent.
It's about 6 hours on
Yeah,
average.
yeah,
That's
6, 7
about
hours.
good.
So just, I hope you have nothing to do for the next week.
No, that's good. I'm so looking
Yeah.
forward to this. Perfect.
Nice. Oliver, we're pumped to have you. We'll start the show off with a break the ice section. It's 10 rapid fire questions and answers. So we'll go ahead and get started with it. First question, what was the very first motorcycle that made you feel like, yeah, this is it?
Oh, you know what? I think it was a GSX-R 1000. I wasn't riding it myself. It was actually an older brother of a friend of mine, and he took us on the bike, wheeling the
Cool.
thing out on the road.
Jesus.
Totally nuts. All the wrong reasons to get into motorcycle riding, but that got me into that got a month later. I basically got my motorcycle license. So yeah, that's
The
probably
GSX-R
it.
is a good
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Cool. Right on. All right. Next question, mountains, coastlines, or endless curvy roads? Which would you go with if you had to choose?
Mountains, because they have the curvy roads. So
That's right.
automatically.
Right. Yeah. Good call. 2 birds, 1 stone. If you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one. Let's pick a dead one because I've been thinking about my uncle. He's passed 20 years ago. I wasn't really that close to him, but he was one of those guys that was, he made some bad decisions early in his life. And basically, he knows he's not going to get that old. And then he lived
Right.
it like that every day, right? And he was also a motorcycle rider, did a lot of things. And it's one of those guys, when you go to the funeral, you see who shows up, what the person
Yeah.
has been doing.
Oh, yeah.
So it'd be kind of cool to chat with him now.
Definitely.
It's cool, man.
I love, some people will name like random historical figures or whatever. I love the answers that are like my grandpa or my
Yeah.
uncle. Well,
Family
family
stuff that you missed out on. Yep.
All right, Oliver, GPS on the bike or paper map, which one do you trust more to get out of a bad situation?
Oh, absolutely GPS. I'm a tech guy, and I've got backups, and so yeah, absolutely. I know how to read a
nice.
map though. I'm old enough to know how to read a map if I have to.
That's good. Yeah. And now it seems like the map apps are actually reliable now instead of leading you out into the ocean and stuff.
Absolutely.
Thank God.
All right. Next question. Best sound in the world, exhaust echo in a tunnel, which is hard to beat, or tires humming through a mountain pass?
Nah, it's got to be the exhaust in a tunnel.
Oh,
Preferably be from a Harley Davidson. I have to say,
Hells
I'm not
yeah,
riding, but
baby.
yeah,
Yeah.
got that rumble. Yeah, that's the best.
That's cool.
Yeah. I'd worry about a man if he didn't hit the gas a little bit or the throttle.
You
every
have
time.
to. You have to.
You have to. All right. One piece of gear you'll never ride without, no matter how short the trip.
The thing is, it's my camera. I always bring my cameras. Sometimes it's almost liberating if I don't bring it, but I always bring it. I gotta have it ready. It's my cameras.
Right on.
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Get to document it all.
Yep.
All right. Your music playlist is stuck on one band or artist. Who do you hope it is?
Oh wow. I have my music taste is so wide. And it changes too. At the moment, it would not be an artist. It would probably be a DJ set electronic music. I grew up in the 90s here with the electronic music scene in Berlin.
Electro, yeah.
And that's at the moment, that's what it is for me. That's what I'm listening to. So it's not an
Okay.
artist per se. It's DJs just spinning it and just.
All right. So now as I watch your videos on YouTube in the evenings, man, I'll know what you're jamming to.
Yeah.
What you're riding to. Little techno stuff, man.
Yeah.
Insanely diverse too, so it wouldn't get too old.
Yeah.
All right. Where are the worst drivers in Europe?
Well, actually, I know where they are because I've been. So I'm sorry for my Irish guys, but it's got to be Ireland. For the longest time, I think in Europe, they weren't even required to have driver's licenses. So I think I'm not getting it right, but maybe it was the 60s. Didn't even need driver's licenses and people drive like that. So I love my Irish people. Don't be mad at me, but that's
the
definitely
drivers,
the worst. Yeah, I have to say.
Watch out for motorcycles, guys.
Yeah.
Funny, man. I never knew that. All right. 2 more questions. Worst weather you've ever been caught riding in?
Oh, well, that has to be definitely one of the rain rides through Slovenia. 6 hours straight, rain coming down, and I wasn't prepared for it
straight
because I wasn't reading the weather report. Right, you always check it where you leave and where you get to, and then all that 6 hours in the middle, I didn't check, so I wasn't ready for it, so I got soaked. But hey, still.
You probably learned that lesson.
Oh yeah, I do. Now I check the weather in the middle too.
Yeah. Stop, check the weather, man.
Yeah.
All right, last question. One place in the world that everyone needs to ride at least one time.
Oh, well, it's got to be Norway or Iceland, honestly.
Yeah, huh? Wow.
But Norway is definitely, it's more accessible, so I'd say Norway. It's such a beautiful country. I've been spending the past week on Norway trips. Well, we'll get to that in a minute, but such a beautiful country.
Oh, man.
And you get the occasional rain too, but it's just absolutely postcard gorgeous. Yeah, I love Norway.
Yeah.
Is it pretty sunny there, or is it normally more overcast? What's the weather like out there?
It can be anything, and it's hard to predict. I've been overall pretty lucky. I had a few rain days, but I also had some of the nicest weather you can possibly have in Norway, all the way up to crazy temperatures that you normally wouldn't get all the way above the Arctic Circle. So I've been lucky so far from the tours I've done, but I know it can be different too. It can be rainy and overcast. It's still beautiful. It's still beautiful when it rains there.
Yeah.
But you just have to be ready for it. And
that's right.
Then you're good.
Down here in Florida, we have the occasional, normally if it rains, we don't have a rainy day. We have like a rainy hour here and there.
Yeah.
And it's those overcast days I've actually learned to love.
But when it rains, man. That hour of rain, that's like...
Yeah, it's a downpour,
boom.
right?
Yeah, it's a downpour where the streets get flooded sometimes in certain areas.
Yeah.
You survived the break the ice section, man. Well
All right,
done.
man. Let's kick the journey off. Where did you grow up, and what was life like for you before motorcycles became part of your identity?
Yeah. So I grew up in Berlin. I grew up in the city here and went to school, did the whole 9 yards. And I went on an exchange when I was in 11th grade, right, to the US the first time. And I kind of paved the way to go back and forth. I went to Montana, out of all the places. I had a super nice host family. We're still in touch to this day. There's more to this story, but that was kicked my journey off to go to the US multiple times after that. So that's how I grew up. And motorcycles weren't a thing until that one day where I was on that GSXR. I was 19, so I already had my driver's license.
What were some of your early interests? What were you into before? Did you just play sports? What'd you do as a kid growing up?
I did martial arts,
Nice.
various kinds of taekwondo, silat, stuff like that. Wasn't really into team sports. I don't know why, because I consider myself a team player, but I think sports was always that kind of stuff. And then what you do as a teenager, right? You go to the gym and work out and do that on top of it. And then what I really got into also in the US, and that was when I was 16, is into skiing. So I still do that to this day. I love the mountains in the winter and the summer. That's my skiing started off with 16. Yeah, I love doing that.
That's
cool. Mountains in the snow. Yeah, that's awesome.
Strictly skiing, or do you snowboard at all?
You know what? I started late in life. 16 is late to start. So I stuck with skiing because I figured I can't even do that well enough. And then rather than split my attention between snowboarding at the time was much cooler to do. So I tried it and I was like, maybe I should stick with one thing and just get better at that. So I'm proficient now, but in the beginning it was a bit of a struggle. Most of it was self-taught.
What were you like as a self-taught?
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, I grew up in Virginia, and that's my brothers and I would just go out there and fall until we got it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oliver, what were you like as a teenager and early adult? Were you a dreamer, a traveler? What sparked your curiosity early in life?
Yeah. I wouldn't say I was particularly a dreamer. I was pretty calculated in most cases. And there was one event though that was completely against, so I think the way I would normally be, and it was a decision to go back and move to the US for good, because I met my wife on my second tour to the US, and at that time I was in the university and I was studying there, and I met my wife in Montana, right? So I was back seeing my host family, and then we met on an airplane. The whole story could probably fill a full podcast, but we met on an airplane. They stayed in touch, right? And then I decided to leave everything behind in Germany and move over to the US. And at the time it was Washington, D.C. I packed everything up, and it was one of the craziest things I did. And I figured we weren't even sure it was going to work out. We didn't know each other long enough, got married right away, and just let's give it a go. We're still married to this day.
That's
good.
So that was one of the craziest things to do. And then, obviously we're back in Germany now. I've been back in Germany for 20 plus years.
She moved back.
Yeah,
she moved to Germany back.
Yeah, absolutely. So that was one of the things that would be, if you had to ask my friends, they were like shocked. What the hell are you doing? But you're in this sort of adventurous spirit, I think it was, because I was there for the second time of a second year. And there's so many new things that you do when you're in a different country, right? And you by yourself, different language and the culture and all that. And I think that kind of, if you're in that vibe, that doesn't feel too crazy anymore to do this, right? To move to another country somewhere and just leave everything behind. If you're stuck in your 9 to 5 doing the same things, that sounds crazy, right? But when you're already doing this, I think that was part of the timing of it too. Because if you would have asked me a year before that or after, would I have done it? Probably not. And so yeah, that was me back in the days.
Man,
that's cool.
That's intense.
Hey, Oliver, take us into what type of work you did before the new venture, because you had a degree in architectural engineering, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. They call it architectural engineering or mechanical engineering in the rest of the world.
Mechanical engineering.
But it's HVAC engineering, building systems and all that. So I did my 1 year of university in the US, and then I started my career in the US. Moved over for my wife, and that was my first job out of university, was actually for an American company. It was an architecture firm that in-house engineering. And I started out as a young engineer, basically designing systems in buildings. And the other half was basically optimizing them for energy efficiency. It's a big topic now, but even back then, even in the US, that was a big deal to how to make buildings better, how to perform better and all that. And that started off when I came back to Germany. One of the benefits I had is that at that time, then my English was relatively proficient. Here in Germany, we had international clients. It's an international firm that I worked for. And they take the person with the best English and put them in front of the client, right? So that got me sort of exposure to being in front of clients and managing projects, and that kind of accelerated my career and pretty quickly in that place. And then there I had a team and a big department. I was running an office and large projects and a big team of people before I said I got to do something different.
Did you love it? Did you love it or no?
No, I did like it. I did like it a lot because it was, for an engineer, most engineers, they tend to be very technical, very introvert. I'm not that much of an introvert, really. I'm still a technical geek in some ends of it, but, I like hanging around with people. I like being around people. I enjoy that quite a bit. And so that helped me also to kind of excel in that career. So I definitely like doing that for sure.
That's cool.
Yeah. Are you in Berlin?
Yes, I am in Berlin now.
Okay. Which side are you on? North, south?
I'm actually in the former west and just south of the center. There's this inner ring in Berlin, and I'm just south of that, basically.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
There's an old airport here where the Americans flew in. The Tempelhof Airport that was been closed now for many years, but that's where the air bridge came in. All the Americans came in and basically supported Berlin over that period of time. It's a very historical airport. Old Nazi building. It's a huge building.
And it's still open? It's still...
Not the airport, not for air traffic, but it's a park now. And it's still... It looks like...
People, you can visit it though, right? People can visit it, tourists and stuff?
It looks like it hasn't changed at all. It's still an airfield. It's still got the runway. Berliners, they like their place. It's more like it looked like it closed down yesterday. So they didn't do any manicuring and landscaping. They thought about all that. They didn't. And it's nice. It's just... You can just walk down the runway and it still looks like an airport. They still have the signs up even, like the signs in English. Cool place. That's a mile from my house. When I was a bit more active, I would run there around the airfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't done
That's
that.
That's really cool, man. That's awesome. When you first started riding, what sparked the urge to explore beyond local roads?
Oh, I don't probably have the same itinerary as most people have, where I I got my license when I was 19. I had my first bikes and everything, but didn't really get into riding then. I had a bike and the winters were pretty cold back in the day. So I
Yeah.
had a bike and I was
Yeah.
trying to ride it through winter in Berlin. I was like, maybe this is not a good idea. And so it was between a car or a bike, and it ended up being the car. And then I forgot about it for a long time. I went overseas, life happened, we had a kid, and for the longest time, I wasn't riding. And then
Yeah.
we still have, my brother and I have friends that, Germans, right? Two brothers, they moved to the US a long time ago, I think 25 years ago or something. And they're riders. They have these like long fork choppers that they ride, but they ride every day. So they're motorcycle riders. And this one time, the younger brother came over and met with my brother, and he was going to sell off his Fat Boy, right? His Harley Fat Boy. And my brother, like third, fourth beer into the discussion, he's, I'll buy it from you. And 3 months later, was sitting in front of his house, still California license plate on there. And so we sat on it, and then we just drove it down illegally. Also, it wasn't registered or anything, just down the small road. And then the year after, it was at the end of the year, October or something. So I borrowed the bike so many times that I was like, maybe I should get my own. And then we can ride together, right? Two brothers. So the first bike I got was actually a Harley. I started with Harley. Most people's journey tends to be the other way around. They go from sports.
What'd you end up getting? Well, which one did you get?
It was a Softail Deluxe. So I like that classic design.
Yeah, Deluxe. Great bike, man.
Beautiful bike. It wasn't a really
Beautiful
old one.
bike.
My brother's bike is a 98, the last Evo engine. It
Yep.
still shakes and all that. It's got awesome sound. It's not super old. An Evo engine. It's kind of nice. And that one, it was fuel injected. It was like, I think it was a 2005 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it had the
when they
beach
came
bar,
out.
handlebars and stuff. And
Yeah,
that
the
was,
Deluxes were beauty. They're beauties, man.
they're just nice. I just like the look of them. And, sound pretty good. And I made a few modifications. And then I started riding, and it was really just around home, right? And I didn't really know what kind of rider I was, or I still had to develop into, ride touring and traveling. It wasn't like that. It was just, for me, it was just like a day, right? A weekend escape.
cruising, enjoying the day on the road, man.
Yeah.
Grab
Did
a
the
bite
whole
to
thing.
eat and grabbing a cold beer somewhere.
Yeah, maybe not on the bike.
Just
I know what
one,
you mean.
just one.
Just one small one. And, I did the Harley meets in Hamburg and wanted to see if that's my thing.
It's a
and then we
huge
had
scene out there.
Yeah, there's quite a few Harley still in Europe. I mean, the biggest bike event here is the Harley event, Fahrkasee, the European Bike Week. Probably not as big as Sturgis, obviously, but there's still a lot of Harleys around. And then I did the trip with my brother. I think it was only one trip that we did together because we didn't really find the time. And I had 2 Harleys over 3 years. And I started expanding. And when I first joined a guided tour, and it wasn't a long tour, it was like a week long, a guided tour to tour and for multiple days and travel. That was my first foot in the door of traveling and doing something multiple days in a row. So I show up with this Harley, right? Everyone else is on touring bikes. They're better suited for European roads.
Of course.
And then I come in with this like super heavy Harley and looking at me, I was like, what the hell are you doing here? So that was funny. And I was a proficient rider by that time, so I could keep up with the group, and it was fun. And there was this nice guy from Munich, forgot his name, but he was on an adventure bike, one of the early Ducati Multistrada versions.
Yeah, the
And we swapped bikes, and he's definitely a lot more experienced rider than I was, but he was kind enough to give me his bike for, 70 kilometers of riding. So I sat on this bike. It's high off the ground compared to a Harley, right? It's got excellent suspension, loads of power, braking is awesome. You can lean it properly. And then we had it was in the Czech Republic, pretty bad roads. And with the Harley on the lowered suspension, you definitely feel every bump in your back.
Yeah, with just a soft tail for the back, man, every bump.
Yep. And I had a lower to it, so it looked nicer. And
yeah, of course.
So, and I had this bike, and I was like, damn, this is nice. This is quite nice. And that's kind of, I thought about, it's like maybe, if I want to do more of this, and I had this idea to go to the Alps. It's one of the things, like a lot of people also that ride with me now, like the Alps, right? It's the one thing you have to ride a bike there. So then I figured, should I really do that with the Harley when I was struggling in the Czech mountains? And they're mid-range mountains. They're not very high mountains, and going up a pass is one thing, but going down with the brakes, they're not really meant for that.
No.
Right.
So yeah, that kind of started the journey into looking into other bikes. And so I started looking. And I looked at the Multistrada, and had it for a day, and I did a long test ride, a couple of other bikes. And then I looked at the BMW GS at the time.
450?
It was a 1200 actually.
1200?
It was still a 1200, and I didn't even like it from the design end of it, because I like the classic bikes, and now we've got this sort of modern looking bike. And I somehow didn't have it on my radar. And I rented it for a day just to see how it is. And it fit like a glove. I didn't have as much power as the Multistrada and all that. I didn't even like the look of it so much, but it rolled really nice. And I ended up buying one of those. And so that's how it came from Harley to then
that
adventure or touring bikes. Yeah, that was that part of it.
Oliver, let me ask you a question. Take us into that decision day that my normal life is over and now it's time to do what I love. How did everything come about? Take us into that.
All right. It's not a decision day. It's a decision process, a pretty long one too.
Sure.
Yeah. So when I left my job, it wasn't fully voluntarily. There was like restructuring going on. I was killing it at the job, but it wasn't fully my decision to leave. But after 20 years in the company, I said, I'll do something else. That's fine. And because it came a bit of a surprise to me, I took 2 months to just travel. And I did we may get to talk about this later too. One of my coolest trips that I haven't even put into a video yet because I don't have any time anymore. But I went to Iceland for 4 weeks, just spontaneously.
Wow.
Went to Iceland, absolute brilliant of a trip, just to clear my head and see what I wanted to do. And by that time, that whole motorcycle thing had already been a passion. I had my YouTube channel and was traveling quite a bit by that time. So naturally, it was just processing all of it and thinking of, what do you want to do next? I was pushing the age of 50 at that time. And what do you want to do? How many good years do you have left?
Absolutely.
And how do you want to spend your life? And the longer the distance got after all this riding, once you're out of that hamster wheel for a little while, it's like coming out of a fog or something, right? Things clear up a little bit. And I say, yeah, this was a pretty stressful job. I love doing it. But the stress and the pressure that you have when it's lifted, and it takes a while. And it's not like take it 2 weeks, gone, but it's after 3 months, you feel like a weight's lifted up your back. And it's okay, that's interesting.
Sure.
So do you want to go back to that and rebuild? I built up an entire team there in the business and all that. So do you want to do that again? Or maybe it's time for something different? Yeah. And so it was definitely not a day. And there are a lot of, you guys may know, starting a business, and especially later in your life, right? Take whatever you thought was a secure job, right?
You're coming away from a consistent paycheck into the unknown, man. And you don't know if this is going to take off. And of course, how was your wife? Was she pretty supportive or was she worried?
I think she's more like a warrior. She was probably more worried. I think one of the best response I got from my son, I mean, he's half American, right? And so the way he's like, awesome idea, go for it, daddy, do it. That's it, just unfiltered. Right. That's what I needed to hear at the time. So, okay, it's nice. Of course, you didn't think about it, right? But the words coming out of the mouth was like, sounds like a good idea. Of course, I had a lot of self-doubt. Should I really do that? So many things why you shouldn't do it. And there's a few reasons why it can make sense. Yeah, it was definitely not a day. It took me a while, but when I made the decision, I said, let's go all in. And I've been doing that since the middle of October, not last year, the year before. So for not even a year and a half, I've been on it like day and night, literally.
Man,
that's cool.
How old was your son when he said that?
He's 16.
When he said go
he's 16.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So he's still
he wasn't a 3-year-old.
No.
Hey, daddy, that's awesome.
No. And I bounced this idea off of a bunch of people, and just I've been in other type of businesses before, so I'm not completely going in a blue-eyed, and I know what it takes to get this also working as a business.
Of course.
Sure.
There's a lot of things you can plan for, try to figure out, but I think you just have to walk it. And I'm still in the process. You got me still in the middle of it. This could go either way. This could be the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Well, I told you, man, when I reached out to you. No, you're on something, man. I told you when I reached out to you initially, I stumbled upon you. My wife and I, in the evenings, will turn on the YouTube and we will watch travel shows. And I'm motorcycle all the time, so that's how my mindset works. And we came across one of your videos, and I'm like, man, look at these places this guy's riding. And I subscribed to your channel, so I watch your shows all the time. And I dig what you guys do, man. Europe is a beautiful place to ride. So it's for you to be able to do that scenic, and you guys do a lot of scenic. And I know we'll get into it as the podcast continues, but I just wanted to say that continue to doing what you're doing, man. If you have the support of your loved ones and you're starting to get the booking trips and making some money on it, continue doing it, man. Because like you said,
Thank you.
I'm 55. How many more years do I have holding up a bike? Maybe 10, maybe, you know what I mean? So I'm figuring like, this is it. Like I need to do as much as I possibly can in this next 10 years. And it's good that you're doing it with your passion and chasing that. So nothing but success. What's up, One Gang? I used to think that if I spent big money on riding gear with a logo on the back, I was getting top quality. I gave Leather Up a shot. I wasn't sure at first, could I really get quality gear without spending a fortune? But after putting tens of thousands of miles on their jackets and vests, I had my answer. No busted zippers, no loose stitching, just solid, well-made gear that lasts. Leather Up carries trusted brands like Milwaukee Leather, Hot Leathers, and more, with gear for every rider and every budget. Plus, their customer service actually cares and picks up the phone, something rare these days. So do yourself a favor, check out leatherup.com. Whether you need jackets, vests, chaps, boots, helmets, or luggage, they've got you covered. And because you're part of the One Gang Worldwide family, use code CW20 at checkout for 20% off your entire order. Stop overpaying, gear up with Leather Up, and see the difference yourself.
Oliver, take us into that first trip. Where did you go? What was it like? How many people were with you? Give us all the details on it, man.
Okay. Before I do, you have to know that when I started setting this up, it was the middle of October. I didn't even have tours ready. I had my own tours that I've done before, but they're not the same tours that I ride with other people. They tend to be a bit shorter. If I'm riding by myself, they're really long tours, and I'm in the saddle for 12, 13 hours. It's not something you do on a guided tour. You
Right, of course.
make smaller packages. So I didn't have that. So I needed to do the tour. Didn't have a website. I had my YouTube channel, right? But I didn't have a website and no way for people to sign up. So by the time I was ready to even have my first posting, it was probably late November. So trying to get tours into April and the rest of the summer, it's really late in the game. And then I started doing videos trying to promote this a little bit. And so the first tour was in April. It was Sardinia. And I had a couple guys that signed up. There was one of the few Germans that signed up. Most people that sign up with me, 98% are not from Germany. And a lot of them are from the US, Canada, Australia, UK, and other parts of Europe, but very few Germans. But I was one of the Germans in there. And another guy, he's from California. He is German, but he's moved to sort of the US 30 years ago. So I consider him, he's an American, right? Wow. So yeah, that was my first tour, Sardinia, and I had two guys there. And I said that year, no matter how many people sign up, I'll do every tour. And I said the same thing for this year as well. If I can't fill them all up, have it in terms to them that I consider not doing it. If there's not enough people, I'll do all the tours this year as well, because just for the experience and to ride with people. And that was awesome. Those guys were amazing. And that was just the start of other groups that were just amazing, great people. Because one of the things about doing this now, I came from a construction industry, right?
Yep.
I don't know if you've ever seen a construction project go well. There's always something that goes bad, right? There's always stress. There's always stuff going sideways. The costs are always exploding, people butting heads. And doing this, like you pick up people when they're not just going on a vacation, they go on a motorcycle trip. There's family vacation. Someone told me that. There's a family vacation, and then there's motorcycle vacation where you ride with your buddies or you meet other people. Right? That's on the very top of. And this is when people come to me and ride with me. They're enthused about it, and it was amazing. We had such a great time. They're excellent riders too. They were on multi-straddles, both of them. And yeah, that was my first tour. A few hiccups on the way from the ferry. I think they had so many constructions going on that we almost missed our ferry, and it was pushed back already. And we couldn't find it. Like on the last 5 kilometers or something, we couldn't find the entry. Everyone else found it. We found it too. And it was like, okay, hopefully we don't miss it. We were having plenty of time, but it was one of the things that you get a little bit nervous, right?
Part of the journey, right? Part of the journey of riding. Oliver, let me ask you this. When did you decide to start filming and sharing these rides instead of keeping them to yourself? Yeah. And what point did you realize people were actually watching and getting inspired?
Yeah, that's a good question. I started filming much earlier than I started publishing it. So I bought this up until last year. I still had the first camera the first action camera is a Sony camera that came out in 16, it's ancient. Right. I still had that. I used the camera like all of last season, the second version of it, because the first one broke. But I had the camera, so I was filming it. I didn't know what to do with the footage at the time. I just pushed the record button and then put the camera in a different place. I didn't know how to edit. And then I started editing stuff on the phone, just sharing it with friends to have this little program and sharing it. And then the steep learning curve of editing a video, I had done sort of photo editing and stuff, but not really video editing. And then just bit the bullet and just started editing a video. And one of the first ones was actually a trip in the US. I was on a rented Harley, and I think I bought a drone there too, like a spontaneous buy, because I was visiting in-laws for 3 weeks. I had a lot of time to buy that drone and rent a Harley and ride around with it. It was one of the earliest videos that I have. And then started putting it together. And initially, and still to this day, I still do this a lot for myself too, preserving that experience for a day when maybe I won't be able to do this. When I'm old and I can't hop on the bike anymore. It's hard to take it all in and remember it in a video or photo. For me, like this visual end of it helps me bring back that memory. Photos work too, but of course video, it just brings back that memory. So I do that.
Definitely. Well, I mean, look at your, sorry to cut you off, look at your responsibility. You're leading a group of people, right? On top of that, you're making sure everybody's getting to the places, destinations on time and safely. You got to record and document on top of that. So you have a million things going through your head as you're riding, where the people in the back who are enjoying the journey, man, they're just looking around going, oh, this is great. This is great. When you're working the whole time on the bike. So it's a totally different vibe, man.
And it's when I ride by myself, there's more time with the filming. Of course, when I ride with others, I tone it down a bit. So I don't want this to be overwhelming. And I've ridden with others that produce content, and that becomes the central thing when everyone has to line up properly, right? And it kind of, I don't want that to be in the way of the ride. I just want to document it. So when it comes to enjoying the moment or filming something when I'm with others, it's usually enjoying the moment. So there have been so many moments I wish I would have filmed, but it would have destroyed the moment. So I don't do it. The ride and the actual experience is still to this day is more important.
Yeah.
And when I first started filming these things and putting them on YouTube, I think where the YouTube community helped is if you see more and more people watching it and giving you a positive response, it just makes you want to do better next time. So you're not just doing it for yourself anymore, but there's others that enjoy it. And that's nice. You share it, right? And they share something of themselves. So the whole idea of sharing what you experience is fun, right? You can do by yourself in solitude, but if you can share with others, that experience comes a lot better and a lot more of it. And I guess now taking people in real life and sharing it with a handful of people in real life, that's the next progression, right? It's nice to hang out, to talk, to sit there with a beer and just change stories out. That's like the ultimate thing of sharing.
That's right.
And also receiving. But YouTube is usually pretty much one way, right? And then you have some comments coming back. But in real life, like you're on eye-to-eye level, you hear what they're doing, and it's amazing. The stories you hear, it's like the laughter we have. It's just
that bonding period it's undescribable unless you do it.
It's really important.
My son is younger, and he told me he loves fishing, and he told me, "Hey, Dad, we're looking at like bait," and he goes, "There's actually a place called Sardinia, Dad." Yeah, buddy. How is the seafood out there, man?
Oh, it's really good. It's good seafood. There's better places to have seafood in Europe. Obviously, you're close to the sea, the seafood in that area. Also, you're in Italy. You got the best of Italy. You got the island. It's beautiful, good weather. I mean, it's not really for the peak summer because that's when all the tourists go for the beaches.
Right.
And it's too warm for us riders. So the temperatures are crazy, and it's too busy.
Well, when is a good time to be there? Like September, October?
September, October. It's got to be later in September. I wouldn't do early September, but like mid to late October is still good. All the way up until end of October, and then of course in the spring, April is a good time. March is you can almost do it. Depends on the season really, but April and May are pretty safe. And as you start going to June, July, August, I would avoid. Months.
Just too tourist and too hot, right?
And it's too hot. It's just the temperature is crazy. If you go early enough, you have the place to yourself. It's also good for the roads because the roads are empty. There's no tourists there. Sardinia actually has the best roads when it comes to grip in Europe, hands down.
Yeah? Wow.
Yeah. I have other people tell me Gran Canaria and the Canary Islands, they're not part of the continent of Europe. So I'm looking at the continent of Europe.
The continent
of Africa, right? Yeah. So Sardinia, hands down, best roads, best grip, better grip than most racetracks. It'll eat up your tires, but the grip is amazing. And then of course you got
the ride is worth it.
Flowing curves, right? It's very different to the Alpine region. So Alpine, you got a lot of switchbacks and hairpin turns and stuff.
Yep.
And you have a few of those in Sardinia, but most of it is flowing roads. So it's like any bike you
It's a
have,
dream ride.
it's a dream ride. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
what you ride, you will have a great time in Sardinia.
Oh,
And of
that's
course,
cool. So even a Harley
yes.
would do well. All right, that's good
Yeah,
to
it
know.
would do
That's
pretty
All
well.
right,
And
Serge.
all the way to sports bikes. You have a lot of these guys, full leathers, right? Sport bikes. They're going probably a bit faster than they should, but those guys too. But it's just the flow of the roads, and of course you can
Yeah.
see ahead quite well, so it makes it a
Mhm.
lot safer. Now, if you have these sort of narrow roads in the mountains, sometimes it's hard
Less
to.
stressful.
Yeah, some cars will get into your lane, so you have to be careful. And then Sardinia, you can see that traffic coming up, so it makes it quite safe. And it's empty. So when it comes to riding, there's more beautiful places in Sardinia. Sardinia is nice, but there are definitely more beautiful places in Sardinia. But when it comes to just pure riding, that's the place to be.
Yeah.
all right. That's good to
absolutely.
know.
That's
Yeah.
that goes in perfectly to the next question, Oliver. So you've ridden over 200,000 kilometers. What places still stop you in your tracks every time? And what place or places made you think this might have been a bad idea?
See, the beauty of riding in Europe is the variety of places that you can ride. There are the tours that I offer. I figured, for offering this to people that, haven't been riding that much in Europe, like what would be sort of my top 5 or top 6 regions to go to, right? And that's why I picked those to guide tours through. And I like the variety. And we talked about Norway. Norway is very beautiful as a country. When it comes to, and it's quite the contrast to Sardinia. Sardinia is, you can put your knees and the footrests down and they carve through the corners. That's not what Norway is like. Norway, you go there for the scenery and the beauty of the place. It's a much more
Right.
relaxed ride. They're pretty strict speed limits and high fines, so you don't want to be going too fast anyway. Italy's a bit more relaxed when it comes to so it's a contrast of these places, right? That makes it great. Then the Alps, the entire Alps regions, you've got everything from beautiful riding to the just high mountain scenery. And it's so different too from, when you start from the Dolomites, that everyone knows the Dolomites, right? It's pretty, they're not
Yep.
the highest mountains, but the way it's laid out is just postcard beauty. I mean, you go there and
Yeah.
it's just like, that's also why it's quite busy in the summer, because it's close enough for people to go there and it's beautiful enough for everyone to have a good time. And then you have places like the West Alps, the French Alps, where the mountains go a bit higher. You have bare mountain landscapes. There's a lot less going on. So if you're more into the quieter experience, then you go down the sort of
Definitely.
all the French Alps, and that's also beautiful. So you've got this full range in the mountains, and that makes it really beautiful. The Balkans is probably one of the most underrated places in Europe, I think.
Yeah.
For those people that have been there, they go back, second, third time. For some reason, there was a second tour that sold out last year for some reason, because I figured most people wouldn't even know about it that much. And it's an area I've been to quite a bit too. It's just a diversity of landscapes. There's a lot of history in the war history, Cold War history, or
Yeah.
recent Yugoslavia war history that you can still see. And then, old towns, beautiful coastal roads. The food is awesome. The people are super nice. So that's, I think that's still a special area. And, for those off-road riders and adventure riders, it's just a paradise. There's still a lot of
Yeah.
unrestricted places where you can hit the gravel. Everything, the bike that I have is, there's so much you can do with it. It's big and heavy, but for those guys on one single cylinder bikes, you can do crazy stuff in the better part of
Yeah.
the Balkans. That's really cool. And then I don't know if you've seen it, but last year we kind of expanded our reach towards southern Spain and Portugal.
Yes.
So I've been there. I've been to southern Spain. I've been to Portugal, but I haven't ridden a bike there. So after touring the full year in Norway, in Italy, in the mountains where it was still green, lush, and then you come to southern Spain and the colors,
Gorgeous.
you've got this yellow, light yellow, brown, and the contrast of these white buildings. It's completely different scenery. It looks
Oh yeah.
absolutely beautiful. And then seeing that
not
and knowing
far
that,
away.
yeah, and you can do it later in the season because it's still warm. You can do it very early in
Right.
the
It's
season.
warm there.
And then Portugal too is amazing. I've seen parts of Portugal, but I wanted to see the rest of it. So I did sort of the southern coast of it where all the surfers are. And that's still a pretty dry part of Portugal. When you start going north past Lisbon and Porto, and then you have the wine region and mountain ranges and stuff. And it's just amazing. So you have all this. It's really hard to say what the most beautiful place is to ride. And then, of course, there's Iceland, which is like, that's another adventure just to get there in the first place and to ride there. So it's not, again, you wouldn't do that for the riding unless you go off-road. So off-road riding is definitely a thrill because you have to go through all these water crossings, and every water crossing you risk drowning your bike. And that's a heart-pounding experience, especially when you're by yourself. But the actual
that's
ring
insane.
road,
That's good. So sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
I watched something on Iceland too. Some guy did two guys took off there and they drowned the bike, man. He had to,
Yeah.
he had to ship, they had to
Gosh,
get rid of it and ship it, and he had to go buy another one.
It's crazy.
That was crazy.
I'm hoping that I find, if I do this video, it'll probably take me 3 weeks to edit the whole thing, and it's been my biggest trip. But yeah, the water
Yeah.
crossings there, I met a guy, and again, when you ride, I was there by myself. I met someone, and we shared, half of the journey together. So it's good to have another buddy just to get you out of difficult situations, and also it allowed me to do more
Definitely.
than I would have probably dared myself. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's insane. The first water crossing, my heart was like pounding,
Of
and I
course,
must have
it
done
all
100
ends
of
if it
those.
drowns. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did I get this right? Your top 5: Norway, Dolomites, French Alps, Balkans,
Yeah.
and then Spain and Portugal.
yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
That track.
And I know
Alright,
that some
cool.
people will say, "What about Ireland and Scotland? They're awesome too." I mean, it's just but it's
Yeah,
if
it's
I had
hard
to,
to count that.
if you have a top list,
Narrow it down. Yep.
start with that, and you need something like once you've done number one, that you need the list needs to be a little longer to give you a little
Of
something to look
course.
forward to, right?
Hey, all right, Oliver, let's do this. Let's get inside to Moto Vibes tour. For somebody listening right now and listening to this podcast, walk us through if someone wanted to join your tour. What's the step-by-step process from interest to riding? Do riders need to bring their own bikes, or how does the rental gear work? Say, for example, I'm interested and I pick up the phone and I give you a shout. Take us through what takes place step by step.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. So there's basically to categorize the two things that seem to be going at the moment. So there's a guided tour, right? Where at the moment it's just me guiding. So all the tours, I'm the one guiding guys. And there's self-guided tours. So there's the self-guided tours, they get all the same support and planning, but without the guide. And
Gotcha.
it was actually an interesting part because people approached me and said, when, I don't need a guided tour. Can you help me with creating an adventure for me, sort of custom tours, or I have self-guided tours on the website that are planned for people. That
gave you the idea. Sorry to interrupt, but that gave you the idea of doing the self-guide is because you were approached by people asking for
and
it?
it was. I only had guided tours. I thought that would be the main thing. It's actually a significant part of what I do over the winter now is plan adventures for other people, and it could be something small. They take one of the listed self-guided tours that I already have on the website, just change the date and a few things, or others just want an entire experience. I have this couple from New Zealand. They want to cover the West Alps, Central Alps, Balkans, Dolomites all in one go. And I said, so the context, is it possible? And I was like, let me have a look and see if it's possible. So yes, it is.
Yeah.
And so I create these itineraries for them, or there's a bunch of riders, what I just did now the past few days, Norway, they want to see Norway, we'll go all the way up to the Lofoten. And it took a lot of time to create that itinerary for them because it was based on something I already had, but I still spent 2 full days just doing an outline for them, checking all the options and stuff. So it's all the work that goes into that's the custom tour part of it. But if someone just approaches me for a guided tour, those tours are on set dates, right? So I have a calendar on set dates, so you can look at the website and see what area you're interested in. They're somewhere between 7 days and let's say 15 days of travel time at the moment. And they cover all the different regions that we talked about because I think they're a good place to show them. There's a lot of information on the website. There's a few people just book, right? And that's for them, that's enough. And there's a lot that just approach me. So there's multiple ways to get in touch with me and ask questions. And actually, I appreciate that when people ask questions because then they're interested and I try to answer as quickly as possible. So the typical questions are, I need a bike. Can I have a bike? So I partner with someone, his name is Stefan. He has a rental company and he had a very similar story to me, just with a year earlier, where he had a sort of a set job and this was a side gig and he turned this into a full-time thing. So he's been doing this now for the 2nd year and now he's going into his 3rd season. But we're both relatively small, right? But we're super agile. We work 7 days a week and around the clock, basically. And like the big ones that have sort of 9 to 5 hours, like we're always there for the people that have questions. So he has the bikes and we get along. We're friends too. So we're on the phone every day. And it's nice because I use his facilities. So when riders come and pick up the bikes, they don't just pick up the bikes and we send them back out again. We just hang out, right? There's this leather couch there. There's a fridge full of cold drinks. There's beers in the fridge for when they come back and don't have to ride anymore.
For the return trip.
And you hang out. And then if you have gear, so he has a full range of Gore-Tex gear. So if they need a jacket, pants, shoes, something so we take our time and just hang out, have a good time. They load the bikes up and we make this part of the experience. We mount our cargo units. So I am the only tour operator, as far as I know, that gives communication units to my riders free of charge.
Cool.
I don't charge for
That's
that. So
great.
I've got a set of those things because I know other tour
Game
operators have a different opinion on should people be able to talk to each other. I think it's a crucial part of my tours
Yeah.
that you can bond while you ride, because
Right.
otherwise you have your coffee breaks and the dinners to just kind of exchange stuff. And it's one thing you pass something, a beautiful waterfall, right? And you share it with the group. Guys, check out this waterfall. Isn't it awesome? And it's the whole, you share something and that makes that experience for yourself better. And that allows people to share stories and things that they see. It's been a
And
complete,
it's stuff that another rider might miss.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
if there's something on the left and they're looking at the right, that,
And
that makes sense.
and you bond over these things. And if you're in an advanced age in life, like how many opportunities do you have to bond with people so closely? And this is an accelerator, right? Being able to talk to each other on the bike. Everyone that's ever used one of these units knows how well that works. And especially when people come together and they don't know each other after this, they've been on the road for a week and a half or two. They're best buddies after that.
Absolutely.
Or not. But most places they are. And it's the safety aspect as well too. Guys, watch out. There's a crazy driver coming. There's a rock on the road. There's sand in this corner. So I can do that. Also for the last rider, I can look back maybe 4 or 5 riders, everyone that's ever ridden in front. There's only so much you can see in the rear. So someone needs to stop, needs to take a bathroom
If there's
break
an
or something.
emergency, if there's an emergency stop, everybody's aware right away. So
Yeah, we got this one guy had a bee flying into his helmet. He said, I got a bee in my helmet. Everyone stopped, and he just took the bee out. If this is the last guy and you don't see him and the group rides off, you lose the person.
yeah, you lose them, of course.
I need to change the battery of my GoPro because we're coming up to this pass. I'm like, yeah, no problem. We'll just pull over for a second, put your new battery in, make sure you can record that experience. So having communications, and I don't get why no one else, no, I do get why most people don't do it, because it's very costly to have these devices and it's a pain in the ass to put them in. That's the video part of it, but just having the communication and that people can talk. And so I basically show a couple of guys how to do it and then they install the units themselves. And that is part of when we set up the bikes, we hang out half the time and then basically prepare the helmets so people have their comms on there. So that's basically when we start to get going. There will be a bit of a briefing of the tour that most tourists will probably do. I don't do PowerPoints or big flip charts. It's just talking to friends. As guys, listen, it'll be a group. I got to watch out for each other and stuff like that. So it's keep it very casual. And I adjust it to how experienced the riders are. And if someone is experienced enough, I don't need to tell them the stuff that they already know.
That's what I wanted to ask you. Do you make recommendations? Say, for example, if I called you and I said, hey, listen, I've only been riding for about 6 to 8 months. I wouldn't call myself an expert. I'm more of a novice rider.
Yeah.
What kind of bike would you recommend for me to rent? Stuff like that. Do you help out in those situations?
Yes.
Or do you guys have certain bikes that this is it to choose from?
At the moment, so the bikes that my partner has, tends to be a 1300 GS. That is 80% of the time the bike that people want. And it is a great bike to do all of these tours.
Absolutely.
Then there's an 800 GS that is, most of them are lowered, factory lowered, because we have a lot of people that they're not that tall and they feel safer.
Right.
Yeah. And it's so having those bikes. We used to have a fleet of KTMs. Yeah, up until last year, I was a KTM rider myself. Had 4 KTMs after the So love those bikes, but as KTM has had a bit of a struggle with the bankruptcy and coming out of it. They're still great bikes, but if you base your business on the bikes, the parts delivery was a bit of an issue last year. Stefan's been phasing out the KTMs for the moment, at least. So it's GSs. If you want another bike, there's 2 other rental companies that I work with closely. So I can send you to those guys. There's another BMW dealer, the local sort of official dealer in Munich or in Hamburg, or there's other rental companies. So you have, if you say, I want to ride, that's choice. I want to ride Ducati for whatever reason, you can definitely do that. So that's the bike choice. And the most questions come really about seat height. That seems to be, can I handle it in curvy conditions? And I don't know if you guys have ridden all the 1300.
Yes, I've ridden.
You have one.
13 and 16. They're tall bikes.
They're tall bikes, but they balance really well. They have the low center of gravity, and that's why it is a good choice, to do this. Either you have one yourself, so then it's a good bike because you know what you're riding, or you haven't ridden it. It's super easy to get used to one of those bikes. Yeah. So that's usually the questions I get. So the good thing is, to come back to the initial question of the guided tours, the way we set this up is like Stefan does the hardware, the motorcycle. I do the software part of it. So the guided tours and creating the experience and then taking people and riders and to live that experience on guided tours, or I create the adventures for them and they can ride it themselves. Pick up a bike from Stefan. The navigation system will come preloaded and they will get all riders, they get a briefing document, a big colorful booklet, lots of pictures in it to give you all the sort of basic information about insurances and things you need to pay attention to, all the way to all the highlights you're going to see. So you can flip through it and get excited about it. And then, of course, there's all my videos you can watch too. Most tours I have videos from, you can just get excited about the things you get to see.
Awesome.
And I think the difference because we are still small, we can afford to give more service. So the bigger ones, the other rental company I work with, they have a lot more bikes. It's in and out. You go in, you forgot your helmet.
Right.
The question then is like,
Transactional.
there's a motorcycle store, buy one, right? And you go to Stefan, and he's going to take a fresh one out of the packaging that you wouldn't like to sell. And he would give that to a client, right? Or to a
That's
customer.
awesome.
That's cool.
And it's just that extra support that you can give. And so at the moment, that's fun for us too, because it's still that boutique thing. We'll see how that goes when we get a bit bigger. But we like being able to do that at the moment. And I think it's like the feedback we get from people.
That sets you apart.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
They want to keep it like that.
And-
You don't
and-
wanna
and
lose
it's-
that.
we live in a disposable world. So when you have that extra tender love and care put onto you as a customer, how much better does it get? So that's cool.
Yeah, and there's people have
Oliver.
no questions and others have a lot of questions. They're like, oh,
course.
sorry about asking all these questions. Like, keep asking them.
Right.
Because if I have time, I'll answer all those questions.
Yeah. What you're talking about leads in perfectly to the next question. I wanted to ask you, what's the hardest part about being responsible for other riders in unfamiliar terrain, at least for them, with varying skill levels? And have you ever had a moment where that responsibility hit extra hard?
Yeah. Luckily, so far, I think the worst case scenario for me would be if someone gets hurt, obviously, right? On the tour, like if you, I know everyone's, and it's part of the briefing, everyone's responsible for their own riding.
That's right.
I mean, it's clear as if you ride in a group, but still you want everyone to come back sort of safe and sound. If the bike, has a scratch, that's just money. I wouldn't be worried about it. The bikes tip over. It's not a big deal, but someone gets hurt, that would be the worst case scenario. So if people get themselves in situations where that can happen, that is the part where I get concerned. And sometimes I don't see it, sometimes. So it was a very helpful thing. I was one of the earlier tours I did last year. There's a rider came up to me and said, I can see the 5 riders back, right? And was riding normal pace. But what I didn't see is for the last 2 riders, that was a little too fast. And rather than telling me it is too fast, because they have communication, but some people just would rather ride over their limit than telling us slow it down a little bit, especially in the beginning.
And be embarrassed.
It was day one. After that, we said, took the pace out. But this guy came to me and said, a couple kilometers out, go a bit slower because these guys were riding over the limit. So thankful for that comment, because the last thing I want is someone getting hurt. When we're in the mountain, that was the transition stage to get to the mountains. Once we're in the mountains, what I do there, in order to compensate for that, if I have faster riders, and there's always a wide range of riders with the skill level, especially in the mountain, on the mountain pass, it's pretty easy where the top of the mountain pass is. So I'll tell them, guys, if you want to go your own pace, pass me. Usually you don't pass the tour leader, right? But I said, because we have comms, it's like we're coming up to a really nice section. Who wants to take the lead? And if someone wants to just get the jiggies out and go up the mountain, you have the chance. And that also keeps the group happy, because if you feel like you're stuck behind someone and you really want to give it the beans,
open it up there, right?
Then you should be able to do that. And you don't have to do it. Most people don't do it on every pass. The opportunities are plentiful, like on my tours. And I just tell them, just keep going. And sometimes you'll, towards the end of the day, say, nah, I'm good. We'll go behind you and you're fine. And then sometimes I will go with them, right? I'll either chase them up or I'll go in front and we go a bit faster and then we meet up at the peak. And a lot of times I would just hang back. So sometimes we have riders that appreciate a little bit of help. And if someone wants to help, I filmed it, right? And we review the footage and they can get tips at night, or I can just show them a line and just take some time. I did that with my brother, and I did that last year with a few riders that were, wanted to just go their pace. And it's great. You don't have to be stuck in a group all the time. You can, and because we have comms, you can allow that to breathe a little, and that makes that experience quite good, even if you have ranging skill levels, right, on the tour.
Oliver, what changes do you see in people from the first day of the tour to the last?
Depends on the people that you have on tour. So I had this woman on tour. She was very, very nervous about, she got one of the bikes from a different rental place, and for some reason she didn't get the lowered suspension that she wanted. So she was really nervous,
tippy
right? And it was
tone,
like,
yeah.
yeah, and it's like, and she was like super nervous, and the thought is like, okay, some people are nervous like this, right? And then luckily Stefan, with the mechanical skills, he actually was able to lower the forks. I mean,
Wow.
and he was like, and it wasn't even his bike, right? And that's
Wow.
now, which was did everything and make it perfect. And all of a sudden, like that was taken away, and all of a sudden, she was it was like, a completely different person, open up, had a
Sure.
great time. So that's one transition I see a lot. What I see too is people connect, and I have WhatsApp groups for every tour. They're still very active to this day. I still get
That's
messages
cool.
from all the groups, not just me, but among themselves. So they do become friends. So I have two of the guys last year, Canadian guy and a Danish guy, they're teaming up this year to do a tour together, just the two of them do that.
Cool.
And there's others. I got this guy from California. They went up to Canada, visited a few riders in Canada. And so people connect. So that's awesome to see that. That's not
Of course.
they
You're
come in.
building this
Yeah.
network of people who met through you, and obviously everybody shares the same common passion, man, of being on two wheels and seeing the world. So that's so awesome, man. I'm so jealous. I want to do that too.
That's the best thing. I still get to see it because they are in the chat, and there's this random message that comes in. And that's great to see. It's great to see that they've met on this tour, and that they're still hanging out long after the tour is over. And that's the whole idea, right? Build new friendships.
How late is riding season in Berlin? Say, for example, is it like September to like all of September, or because October it gets too cold, or?
Well, it depends on the weather. You can have beautiful October days. October is really, you can have really bad weather, and then it's not good for riding. I think that goes for most of Middle Europe, even the mountain region. You can have some of the most beautiful riding, because when the leaves start to turn and are
Right.
colorful. So I had this one time when I came back from the Balkans, my first trip to the Balkans, I had a shoulder injury. So I busted my shoulder on a mountain bike accident. So my entire riding season was done, right? And I figured, okay, if I get back on the horse again, I was like, I do one more motorcycle trip, which was at the very end of October. And I came back through the Lake Garda region, and it was late October. The few days after I was there, it started snowing in that area. But on that day, it was beautiful, like colors turning and beautiful colors. So you can ride in October.
Reason I'm
not so
asking.
much.
Reason I'm asking is my wife's dad lives outside of Berlin in Germany.
Okay.
And we went to the Netherlands last September, and I got a chance to ride out there.
Mhm.
Luxembourg, part of Germany, and then so was Belgium. So it was really cool. I was on a Sportster 1200. That's what my buddy had. That was an ass kicking. But we're thinking of coming down to see her dad at probably at the beginning of September. And maybe I'm going to reach out to you and see what you're doing. If you're up to, maybe we could do like a couple of day getaway or something.
Absolutely.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah, hit me up. I can't promise I'm around. Definitely do when you're there, because a lot of the times that in the riding season, I will be in the Munich area a lot this year as well. So from my riding season starts end of March, and most of the time I will be in southern Germany. And then I start in Spain and Portugal this year.
Austria's pretty kick-ass too, man.
Austria is great. Northern part of Italy is awesome. French Alps. France is a beautiful country to ride through, especially if you like it to be a bit more like free of people and stuff. It's the mountain region,
I
but
like
not just
free
the
of
mountains.
people.
So that's a great place, and it doesn't take that long to get there. Depends on what time you have. You can definitely ride down. If you're in Berlin, the closest Czech Republic, if you're on the border of Germany and Czech Republic, that there's like a mid mountain range. That used to be my weekend escape. I would go there.
Nice.
Sometimes even on a single day. I would do 2 days worth of riding in a single day.
That's cool.
So it'd be like 14 hours on the bike or something, and just cover all of it and come back home, because when I just had one day, it's like your wife tells you, you've got one day. Yeah. And so you get up at 6 in the morning and keep riding, come back. But that's a beautiful area to go to.
All right, good to know.
Area.
Good to know. I'll stay in touch with you with that.
Absolutely. Let me know, and I can give you some good tips where to go.
Oliver, looking back, the miles you've ridden and the lives you've helped opened up a little bit, what are the things that you're most proud of on this journey so far?
On this journey of like building this,
Yeah.
I think what we talked about, I think helping people to connect is one thing. I think that's the ultimate thing, that people can connect, because that's hard to do just online, right? With my YouTube and that, you don't connect so much on digital media. People think so, but we're so into the digital, like having real moments and real adventure and real things. I think that to me is the biggest thing. It's like, seeing people go through that and having that adventure, having the ride of a lifetime and seeing what it does. It's like they're happy even if they ride through rain. You get there, you're dripping wet and you're still smiling and having a great time. That for me
makes it more memorable.
That is the best part of what I do.
Agree.
Like
I agree.
by a long shot, not the curves, not the motorcycles, not that. It's like being with people and sort of, making that possible. That's the best part of it. It's hard to beat. Best feeling.
Yeah. What advice would you give somebody who's maybe stuck in a rut, wanting to do something adventurous or step out of their routine? What advice would you give them?
Don't wait too long. The people that ride with me, they're 50 plus. And like we said in the intro, how many good years do you have left? Can you afford not to do that? Can you afford not to do an adventure? Because before, we don't know how much sort of good years we have. Like we can get sick, have something, have an accident, whatever. Right. This might be over tomorrow and you don't know that. So don't wait. And I have these like fridge stickers that my wife has a lot of those. There was one that really resonated well with me that says, especially looking at changing my career and doing this crazy thing, it says, I have it here, no more working to enhance my resume. From now on, I'm going to focus on the kick-ass obituary.
Hang on, man.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
Man, that says it all right there.
Because for the longest time in your mid years, right, you focus on your career, you build your family, your career, and do all those things, right? You're in that hamster wheel to build up your resume. And then it's this moment where you think about, like, have you done enough cool stuff in your life?
That's right.
And, probably not. No one's going to talk about that extra overtime hour that they did in the office, right? Man, go out there and live a little. Yeah. Don't wait.
Oliver, how can people reach out to you, follow you on your socials? Where are you most active? How can people get a hold of you if they have any questions? Or we're going to link everything to the show notes here.
Thank you. So the easiest, really, the website is a good starting point. It has all my contact information. It's motovibes.de, motovibes.de. There's even a little button now that links directly to my WhatsApp. So people have clicked on that.
That's cool.
And Stefan really told me he needs to do that. It's easy for people to contact you.
And
people,
easy.
They use it. And I answer when I can. And I say in there, it's not a bot. It'll take me a minute to answer you, especially with the time zones. I've got email, phone number. People have called me. I'll pick up the phone when I see phone call. Email works really well as well. That's usually the best way to contact me. Some people contact me through Instagram and YouTube comments. Best thing really is give me a call, WhatsApp, email. I see that and I will respond. And I hop on video calls with people just to have a chat and answer the questions in real time.
That's cool.
So
that's cool, man. That's really cool.
Guys, listen, I'm just telling you right now, I stumbled upon Oliver. Like I said, I just enjoy travel, especially motorcycle travel. I stumbled upon one of his videos and just kept watching all the videos that he was posting. The passion this man has in his eyes and his smile is genuine, man. This is a great man. He's chasing his dream. So anybody who's planning some kick-ass trips, go on to Moto Vibes on YouTube, see the type of stuff that he does, man. This is absolute beauty in motion, man. And he does it the right way. So just want to say thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts for taking the time, coming on the show, giving us your journey, man. We hope that you continue your dream and everything keeps working out with health and everything else. And I'm going to come out and see you. I promise you, man. 100%.
That sounds great.
I'm going to come out and see you.
Hit me up. Thank you.
Definitely, man. Oliver, this is awesome. You're doing some incredible stuff, man. And the videos are absolutely awesome. I'm hooked. We appreciate your time. We really do admire what you're doing, man. So thank you for spending an hour with us today. And we look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Thank you so much for letting me share the story because I haven't really shared it like this. So it's been great. Thank you so much. That's
all right, Oliver. All right, brother. Be good. Be safe.
Ride safe and stay awesome, guys.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Heck yeah. See you.